While tax policy can influence economic choices, it is by no means guaranteed that tax rate cuts will ultimately lead to a larger economy. As discussed in the last episode, the potential impacts on VAT span several sectors. In fact, the Institute for Development of Economics and Finance is showing concern that changes from the Harmonized Tax Law could slow Indonesia's economic recovery. At a macro level, the increase in value-added tax, or VAT, will cause a decrease in purchasing power among the already diminished power of individuals in a post-pandemic world. Weakening people's purchasing power will also cause sales and industrial utilization to decline. It's clear that the Harmonized Tax Law has the potential to affect not only individuals, but a variety of industries, both large and small. To really understand the impact, you must understand the deeper nuances of tax changes. This is Jima Consult, and we're going to explore the after effects and weigh the impacts. The next question is, who will be affected by these changes? Understanding reductions in income tax rates. When income tax rates lower, the behaviors of individuals and businesses change. This is the result of both income and substitution effects. Lower tax rates lift the after-tax reward to working, saving, and investing. But why? When after-tax rewards are higher, the result is increased work effort, saving, and investment through substitution effects. This is the intended effect of tax cuts on the size of the economy. Pure rate cuts have the potential to reduce the value of existing tax distortions, creating a shift away from tax-favored sectors, even while maintaining a stable level of economic activity. But pure rate cuts can also create a positive income effect, reducing the need to work, save, and invest. If there's a cut in income tax rates that's across the board, all of the above outcomes can happen. The cut will raise the marginal return to work, increasing the labor supply through yet another substitution effect. Since the cut would also reduce the value of existing tax subsidies, it would likely alter economic activity. As a household's after-tax income raises, it would, in turn, reduce labor supply thanks to an income effect. This effect on the labor supply is ambiguous because similar effects can impact tax rate cuts on savings and other activities. Although income effects are the same in the two scenarios above, the substitution effect on labor supply and savings is greater when tax rates are higher. The net gain in labor supply would in fact shifting to heavier amount, or the net loss adjusted to be less in absolute value, when the rates are contrarily simulated from high to low. Also, since the economic cost of tax rises with the square of the tax rate, gains from reducing tax rates are greater when tax rates are already higher. Understanding tax reform. Effective tax reform brings a reduction in income tax rates and measures broadening the tax base. The goal is to reduce the use of tax expenditures or other items that narrow the base. By removing various types of income and consumption, broadening the base inevitably raises the average effective marginal tax rates on savings, labor supply, and investment. But what are the effects? First, the average substitution effect becomes smaller from a revenue-neutral tax reform instead of from a tax rate cut. This happens because the lower tax rate raises incentives to work while broadening the base reduces those incentives. Second, the average income effect from a revenue-neutral reform becomes zero. Broadening the base has one more benefit that would help with expanding the size of the economy. It would reduce the allocation of resources to sectors and industries that benefit unjustly from generous tax treatment. A flat-rate, broad-based system encourages resources to exit the favored tax sectors and move into other areas of the economy with higher pre-tax returns. This reallocation would lead to an increase in the size of the economy. Understanding financing. Tax changes also have the power to alter the economy through adjustments to federal finances. If the change is revenue neutral, financing effects won't be an issue because the reformed system would generate the same amount of revenue as the existing system. However, any tax cut has to be financed by a mix of future spending cuts and future tax increases. Borrowing is also necessary to fill the gap between the timing of spending and receipts. Even if the associated policy changes are not specified in the original tax cut legislation, they must be present one way or another in order to meet the government's budget restrictions. Fiscally unsustainable policies are impossible to maintain forever. Tax cut financing needs to acknowledge the effect of the tax cut itself. In the absence of spending changes, tax cuts will most likely raise the state budget deficit. Also, the increase in the deficit will probably lead to higher interest rates in most economic environments. Lower national savings and the associated increase in interest rates will hinder the economy's ability to grow. Understanding the influence of other governmental entities. When creating tax bills and amendments, foreign governments are often overlooked. Their responses can play an integral role. Tax cuts that induce capital inflows from abroad might encourage other countries to reduce their own taxes in an attempt to retain capital or attract foreign direct investment. Depending on how much other countries respond, the net effect of income tax cuts on economic growth can be smaller overall. This is an exciting and pivotal time for Indonesia's economy. Embrace a changing economic climate. The coming years will see many changes as Indonesia works toward recovering from the lows of the pandemic and turns its attention toward a future as a developed country. The Harmonized Tax Law has the potential to offer much-needed support across many sectors, while the new carbon tax is a step in the right direction. This law offers one important thing: hope. It may actually provide the support that's needed across several sectors. The new carbon tax also shows a lot of promise. However, there are no guarantees. The ultimate impacts from new tax regulations, VAT changes, and a carbon tax will only become clear with time.